Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Signal or Noise. This is episode 40, last episode of 2024. Charlie Bilello here, and with me, as always, Peter Mallouk. Peter, very special episode today. Going to be a little bit different. The least amount of charts of anything we've done so far. In fact, there's not a single chart in there. It was hard for me to do that, but no charts. We're just going to have a great conversation about how to get rich without getting lucky. But let's dig right in. How to get rich without getting lucky. 10 lessons from Naval, Ravikant. I'll have a link in the show note to the Tweetstorm. This is something I go back to, Peter, a lot and just reread because there's so many helpful reminders in there. I think I first learned about Naval from a Tim Ferriss episode. It's probably 10 years ago or something. And I just listening, and everything he was saying was kind of resonating. Kind of like a philosopher. He's an angel investor. He's a founder of AngelList, does a lot of different things. But really, his philosophy is about life and building wealth. A lot of things that you could take away from it. So I want to share 10 lessons and kind of just go back and forth, finding things in your life and my life that we see really parallels here. And the goal for everyone who's watching this probably is to build wealth. So let's talk about how to do that without being lucky. Okay, lesson number one, seek wealth, not status. I'm going to read the quote here from Naval. Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy. Peter, what does wealth mean to you? And is this an accurate depiction in your mind in terms of describing what it means and what you should be aspiring towards?
So to me, that's not really what wealth is. I mean, Naval's a genius, and we're going to spend a lot of time on all this stuff that he talks about. Like, to me, wealth is you have a sense of abundance. You feel like you can do what you want when you want. If you're complaining about your job, you're complaining about it knowing you can leave it if you want to. You're complaining about the cost of something, but you could afford it if you wanted to. Wealth is just not having that level of contingent concerns. People are always worried about all these different economic things. If you have wealth, you have that peace of mind that you've gotten to a place financially where there's a gap between your needs and wants and what you have. And people have very different needs and wants. So somebody with a small amount of money can still be wealthy. Somebody with a lot of money might still not be wealthy. But I think what Naval is saying here is, there's different levels of making money. So one way is you go to work and you get paid a certain amount of dollars per hour and you go home. And he's saying, like, look, if you really want to go to another level, you have to be making money even when you are personally not working. Like, if you're making your money building, you're physically doing part of the building on a house, and you're not making money when you're not building on it, you're not going to do as well as the person who owns rental properties. And when they go on vacation, they're still making money off the rent. And when they're going to bed at night, they're still making money off the rent. I think that's what he's saying here. There's no doubt about it that if you want to have that, if you want to go to that other level, you've got to be able to take that step of having assets that work for you while you sleep.
Which requires some sacrifice and delayed gratification, of course, because in order to invest in those types of assets, you need to save first. And no matter how much money you're taking in, if you spend everything, you can't save, you can't accumulate and build wealth. But how about this concept about not seeking status? And, he gives a number of examples. If you listen to interviews with him, politics is probably the most prominent one, where it's a zero-sum game. You have a winner, you have a loser, and it's very different than business and building wealth, where it's positive sum, where everybody theoretically can become rich and wealthy. There's really no limit to the number of people, as we're seeing year after year around the globe. Poverty rates are going down and more people are benefiting from this. So how about that concept of not seeking the status, whether it's a title or whether it's a position, and instead, seeking this concept of wealth?
People are motivated by different things. I saw an interesting generational study, and it was asking the youngest generation, like, what do you want the most? And at the top of the list, and I was surprised to see it, was fame. I think that's part of the kind of the whole influencer culture. And then number two was wealth. I mean, the priorities are really have become fascinating, but these are obviously very different things. Every now and then you have somebody who has wealth and fame. there's not every now and then. There's many, 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 many examples of this from Elon Musk to Taylor Swift, right? Where you can have both at the same time. But there is a difference between the corner office and the cool title and actual wealth. And I see this in a lot of companies where the wealthiest person might be somebody who's made it to partner in a company and does sales, and they're doing much, much, much better than somebody in the C-suite. So there's definitely a difference between those two things. I think what Naval is saying is this, his Tweetstorm is about wealth. And if you're focused on wealth, don't confuse it with these status things. Don't confuse it with an hourly rate.
That's right. Okay, let's go to lesson number 2. Own equity. I've heard you say this a number of times in your own way, but here's a quote from Naval. You're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business, to gain your financial freedom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of this. Oh, first of all, not totally true. There's plenty of people that are
Yep.
doctors and people that never become a partner in their firm and become wealthy. So, but it is certainly easier, right? If you are in a business where your input is correlated to economic growth and where you have a path to becoming a partner in that doctor's office or accounting firm or architecture firm or engineering firm or whatever, owning equity. I mean, equity is taxed at a lower rate. It grows tax free until you sell, versus if you think about your income, you're paying the highest tax rate and you're paying it as you earn. It's easier to grow and compound wealth being an owner. If you take this over to the investment world that you and I talk about all the time, Charlie, I always talk about, if you want to become wealthy with investing, you have to be an owner, not a lender. Bonds, you're loaning money to places. Stocks, you own businesses. Owners build wealth. The Forbes list is full of people that owned businesses and companies and stocks and real estate. It is not full of lenders.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to start your own company. Obviously, we talk about just buying equity, buying a piece of the stock market and holding it for 30 years. That's a great way for everyone to get there as well. But just keep that in mind. We often talk about stocks versus bonds and bonds versus cash, but stocks tend to double every 7 years on average, and bonds 15 years, and cash it's going to take a lot longer than that, right? So being an owner over time is really going to be the best way to get you to that wealth path. Okay, lesson number 3: play iterated games. All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. And it's interesting here, he's talking about things outside of wealth. Obviously everyone's familiar with compound interest in terms of money, but how about this idea that in relationships and knowledge, playing these iterated games, doing seemingly the same things over and over, and spending time with people in that's meaningful for you over time is going to lead to better outcomes in the long run in those relationships in terms of your knowledge. I think that's an interesting takeaway here from Naval.
I thought it was so interesting too. I think it's a very philosophical approach to things, and like you said, less about money and more about life. And I think what he's basically saying is like, if you invest in the same thing, you get rewarded more than trying to do multiple things and not getting the compounding effect. And as he alludes to relationships, I mean, we know that one of the things that makes for a great relationship is shared history. Being able to go, oh, we remember when we did this together, we went to that school together, and we went to that lake together, and all of those kinds of things. And so if you take that unit of time and you invest it in an existing friendship, you're more likely to get the compounding effect than having a whole bunch of friends with without a lot of engagement with them. Same philosophy he's referencing when it comes to investing, like getting that ball rolling and doubling down on the market or your business over and over again. You're more likely to have an outcome that's positive than trying to start over or spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, and all this takes time, right? And most people, if you look at their wealth, it didn't come in one big lottery ticket type event, Peter, right? But it's just that slow compounding that seems like nothing. This concept of, getting 1% better every day or every year. And then over time, if you stick with it, it has to be meaningful, though. It has to be the right relationships. It has to be the right knowledge. So, like, just scrolling on TikTok or
Right.
Instagram or YouTube, right? You're not going to get the same return from that, from getting real knowledge, or spending time in relationships with the people that matter, right? So you have to keep that in mind. But I like that concept of iterated games. Okay, let's go to lesson number 4: arm yourself with specific knowledge. And he has a bunch of tweets in the Tweetstorm about this, but I picked out a few here. Building specific knowledge will feel like play to you, but will look like work to others. And I love this concept here of the ability to learn. The means of learning and tools of learning are abundant and infinite. It's the desire to learn that's incredibly scarce. So, right in this day and age, you can find anything through AI, through search. Everything is available to you, but you still have to have that desire to become that subject matter expert.
One of the things I've learned as I, unfortunately get older, and you see clients that become experts in their field, is there's so much room for a specialist everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of people that they make their profession just on the, basically on the surface of their profession. They know what they're supposed to know, but man, the second you go, 8 feet deep, they don't, that's out of their realm. And that makes specialists so incredibly valuable. That's why specialists can charge more per hour, whether you're in medicine or law or wealth, whatever the profession is.
Yeah.
And most people don't have that patience and that discipline to go deep in a specific area. And there's no question that specialized knowledge is a wealth has a wealth effect.
Yeah, I think also it helps with this concept, which we didn't touch on yet, but of eliminating luck from the equation, right? If you're good, things will happen to you if you're the only one with that type of knowledge. Like those opportunities they may take time, but they'll present themselves if you have that specific knowledge. And even better if it feels like play to you, right? Because how likely are you to go out and try to become an expert in this thing and really feel passionate and keep up with all of the latest things? Let's take like a tax, someone who specializes in tax. If you don't really find it interesting and love it, are you going to be keeping up with all the new rules and regulations that come out each and every year? Probably not.
Exactly. I mean, like if you're committed to this, I mean, there's just opportunity everywhere. I mean, I see that in my own firm across all of the different fields that we have, whether it's, we look at our trust company, there's enormous value for people who specialize in things like real estate or oil and gas. And if you look in the insurance services, there's enormous demand for people who specialize in very unique types of insurance. If you're willing to specialize, a very, very clear path towards wealth accumulation.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to number 5 here. This is pretty important. Avoid the cynics and pessimists. Don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. And I just picked out another quote here about who to partner with. Pick business partners with high intelligence, energy, and above all, integrity. Peter, you have obviously a lot of experience with this, many partners at Creative Planning. And I know you're not a cynic or a pessimist. But they are out there. So how do you avoid that in working with these people? Because there's always going to be a counter, and sometimes you need some skepticism, but you don't want people who are fundamentally always assuming the worst and saying we can't grow, we're not going to improve because of X, Y, and Z. You can't. Once you're surrounded with those people, they're going to inevitably bring you down.
100, you're spot on. I've learned this. I've been blessed to have amazing partners, and I've had some real eye-opening lessons along the way. And I think you definitely don't want a bunch of yes people around you. You want people that want what you want. They want to win. They want to achieve. They want to be the best at what they do, and they want to work on a path to get there. And they're going to be very frank and direct with you if they think you're making a decision to go in the wrong direction. But that's very different than what you're pointing out, which is someone who's always got the negative outlook and the pessimistic outlook. It's very, very hard to be around that all of the time and not have it infect your thinking. I have found myself early in my career, if I had a problem employee or partner, trying to, convert them or turn them or persuade them or get them to be more positive, total waste of time. Now, my attitude on this has completely changed. It's a very brief warning, a very short runway. If there's weeds in the garden, you don't wait to see what happens. You pull the weeds, right? And move on. So if you've got these people around you, it definitely makes it harder for you to be successful. Extract them from your day-to-day life and surround yourself with more positivity.
Yeah, and how about ranking these kind of attributes intelligence, energy, and integrity? Most people wouldn't put integrity first, but I think it should obviously be there. And to me, energy comes before intelligence because you could have all the intelligence in the world, but if you're not following through and you're not a hard worker and you're not contributing, then what good is it?
Yeah, I mean, integrity is prerequisite, right? I mean, like if you don't have integrity, there's not even a conversation. But let's say we get past that. The
Yeah.
number one thing is energy, or some people would call it drive or grit. And the person with energy is going to figure it out, right? If they get to a wall, they might not know the best way, but they're going to go over it or under it or around it or through it. They're going to figure it out. The person with intelligence might not even get to the wall, right? You have to have the energy in the first place. It's a very, very big driver of success. There's all kinds of clues if the people around you have that energy. Like I can see creative will hire a new planner and something doesn't get done. Well, why didn't that get done? Well, I didn't know from here to there what to do. Whereas someone with energy would say, okay, I'm going to go to this person, that person, OpenAI, whatever I've got to do to figure it. I'm just going to figure it out. And if not, I'm going to go. And that's the number one trait of success is drive, that energy.
100%. Okay, let's go to lesson number 6. Become the best at what you do. Become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true. And this is kind of parallels to what Charlie Munger often talks about, where I think he has an example where he talks about a plumber in like a remote area in the country, and that's the best plumber in that area. And if you're the best plumber in that town, that city, then that's going to benefit you. And kind of redefining, everyone has a different job, but redefining it, narrowing it until you could say, I'm at least aspiring to be the best person at this particular job.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to stand out from a wealth perspective. I put them in 3 big categories that I've observed. I'm sure there's more. But one is you can be the best. There's always demand for the best. Second, you could just deliver the most value. And third, you could just be the fastest. Like I look at Amazon's a great example to me of they're the fastest, right? They're not the lowest cost. They're not the best value. You're getting the same product that you would get somewhere else. Why is it so popular? Because I click a button and it shows up at my door tomorrow. I mean, that's super easy and fast. So they can carve that out, and someone else might provide the most value, and someone else might be the best. But there's nothing beats being the best, right? And I think, like I could just tell you here, when we have the few meetings that we have at Creative Planning, we're talking about how do we get significantly better from where we are right now. And I think when I watch all my business owner clients or people that have been successful partners in companies they're at or in real estate or whatever, they are always looking ahead and saying, yeah, I might be winning now, but how do I make sure I'm winning in the future? This constant tension with dissatisfaction. You're never satisfied. Always thinking about how to become better and maintain that little bit of edge, because you don't need to be infinitely better. You just need to be a little bit better, right? A little bit better than everybody else, and that's enough, because we live in a society where the best is going to attract the most, whether it's incrementally the best or significantly the best. And so it's always a race to stay out front.
So what about you yourself, Peter? What do have you used this concept? And you do many different things, obviously, in your day-to-day job. But how do you think about this? What are you trying to be the best at right now in what you're doing day to day?
I mean, I think I literally think about this every day. I come through the front door at Creative Planning. I consciously think, like, what else can we be doing for our clients? What else can we be doing for the team? I think about that every day when I walk through. How do we get better from where we are? I'm never, ever satisfied, right? Like there's everything that we do is not perfect, which means everything can be better. And so better means it can be an answer we deliver more quickly. We can have more specialization so we can solve more problems for our clients. We can lower an error rate. But I am always thinking about that and want all of the leaders within Creative Planning thinking about that. You can't just one person can't do it. You have to have a leadership team that's capable of that too. And everyone comes in with that mindset. And you just never want anybody to be satisfied. You always want to be pushing ahead. This is something that if you can be intentional about it, can be a very big differentiator. I mean, everyone can say, well, I want to be better. But to really consciously think, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. If everything was going to shut down tomorrow, if it wasn't 10% better, what would I do today, right? And you kind of force yourself into these exercises of things that need to be fixed, and then you go fix them.
Yeah, and for people starting out that are watching this, they're just starting their careers. They might be saying, "Well, how am I going to be the best?" It's going to take time, but I think the goal, and this resonated with me early in my career, is Steve Martin's concept of be so good they can't ignore you, right? So just, you don't have to be the best. You're not going to be the best in the world when you're starting out at something, but just be so good at what you do that the people around you can't ignore you, and you're delivering so much value to other people that it's just 100% going to keep moving you forward in your career and whatever you do. So just keeping that mindset. This is what I always think coming into every day when I was young. Well, how can I be most helpful? How can I be most helpful? Think of new ways. It's not just what your job task is. You have this list of things. Well, what are 3 extra things I could do this week that'll be helpful to help grow the firm, to help other people in doing their jobs? Trying to go the extra mile, just being so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think people might be surprised that to be the best, or at least really, really good. I mean, part of it's just show up all the time. Part of it's outlast your competition. Part of it is just thinking a little bit innovatively. What I think a lot of people become surprised as they become successful is a lot of people become easily satisfied, right? So you might be in a field where you're competing with, 5 or 6 or 20 other places, but many of them are going to be content at certain levels, or they're going to hit a complexity level where they just can't go to the next level. And so just constantly pushing yourself forward, you almost don't even need to pay too much attention to the competition. Constantly moving yourself forward, you will find yourself creating separation over time.
So that growth mindset. So even for you, for creative, it hits 5 billion, right? And not just saying, for many people, hitting 5 billion in this business is a huge achievement, but saying, no, we need to continue to grow. We reach 10 billion, 100 billion. We're going to be one day $1 trillion firm. That's the way you're thinking about it. Is just
100%,
growth.
100%. And every little decision you have to make that happen. And then part of it becomes self-fulfilling. The big, like in our business, the bigger you get, the better pricing you get, the more clients want to come over and think. So as you get better, there is a snowball effect to the outcomes.
Yep. Okay. Lesson number 7, there's no easy path. This is very important, right? Because you're going to run into these year in and year out where people are promising you that you can get rich quick. Here's the quote: there are no get rich quick schemes. That's just someone getting rich off of you. And go ahead.
You run with this one. I've read this several times. I don't even know what he's saying here. So I'm curious your take,
Well,
Charlie.
the people that are selling you the real estate course or this course or the flipping and or the stock picking, which seems like every ad on and YouTube, every other ad seems to be, I'm going to help you trade options or do this thing, and they're driving their Lamborghini and they have their enormous mansion, and they're going to help you get there quick. It's always quickly. It's never give me 20 years and compound that over time and save and invest and be good at your job. It's no, I have this secret that will help you get rich. And if you look at Bezos, Musk, Zuckerberg, any of them, none of that applies to the wealthiest people, right? All went through a lot of hardship and ups and downs, and it took time for all of them. And it wasn't a certain outcome, but it certainly wasn't a get rich quick type of scheme that you see.
Yeah. Now I don't understand how I missed that obvious explanation of what he's saying there, but I definitely agree.
Okay. Lesson number 8: work hard. Work as hard as you can, even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work. And that second part is really interesting to think about, because there are people watching this saying, I'm not working with the right people. I'm not at the right company right now. And yeah, all of that might be true, but you still have to work hard, right, in order to get to that place that you want to be. There's really no substitute for hard work.
Yeah, whenever I'm speaking at a college or high school, I talk about one of the best things you can do is whatever it is you dream of doing, get to a company where you're surrounded by people that are doing that at the highest level. Like if you want to be an architect, take the lower paying job at the top architect firm with the top architects, right? And you are going to be more likely to be successful. So those things that Naval says are more important, like who you work with and what you're working on, that's obviously the most important things. But no matter where you are, give it your all. And that's going to help make a difference as well.
Yeah. So if you're giving, that's interesting that your example. So if you're giving advice to someone and they have a situation, they can make, 20% more at a company, but they're not doing something that they're learning that's going to progress their career, or the people that are in charge there are not people that the jobs. What I always say is try to work for people where you actually want their job at
Hmm.
some point in the future, right? So when you're starting off your career, even for your own kids, do you advise them take the lower paying job and learn and
Oh,
grow over the money?
100%. Like, and then go to yeah, absolutely. Go be around the people that are the best in their field, that are the people that you want to ultimately be like, and you're far more likely to get your long-term goals doing that than chasing a higher dollar right out of school.
Yep, 100%. So if you could work for Elon Musk or people like that, right, and
Yeah,
you
100%.
a
So
rock,
yeah,
you get on a rocket ship literally,
yes.
then take that opportunity, even if it's going to pay out less in the short run. Okay. Lesson number 9: delegate and outsource. And enforce an aspirational personal hourly rate. If fixing a problem will save less than your hourly rate, ignore it. If outsourcing a task will cost you less than your hourly rate, outsource it. This was a tough one for me to handle, Peter, because I want to fix things. Like a few years ago, a dishwasher is broken, and I literally spent like an entire Saturday on YouTube. I ended up fixing it. Like, it's amazing, everything is on YouTube, but clearly I did not calculate an aspirational hourly rate before I did that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with this. I understand what he's saying. So if let's say you're in a job where you can work as much as you want and you have an hourly rate. So let's say you're making $100 an hour and you can there's infinite work for you. And so if you want to work 50 hours instead of 40, you can. Well, obviously, yes. If you can get something done for $50 an hour, hiring somebody to do it, you should do it. Even if you're capable, let that person pay that person $50, hire them, because you can make 100 doing something else.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, that's just not really the case, right? They've got their income and then they've got free time. And so really the comparison is your free time versus the cost of outsourcing. But yes, in a world like the world Naval lives in, where every hour of energy he puts into his business is going to generate a certain amount of money, then this logic makes sense.
Yeah, and so what do you find it difficult personally delegating outsources? I know you're a
Not
hands-on person, but you can't build a 2,000 person company without delegating and outsourcing. But was it difficult when you went from 50 to 100 employees, 100 to 200, to kind of you have to rely more on other people, right?
yeah,
Competent people that you
it,
trust.
it was very difficult, and what broke the seal for me was there was just no choice. It just got to a point where there's literally no choice, right? And so you start to find and develop and grow these amazing people and realize that in many of the things there are people that are better than you at it. So yeah, no problem now. Like finding basically anything that someone's better than me at, which is almost everything, it's outsourced.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to lesson number 10. And this is more like a philosophical exercise. He put it at the end of the tweet store. When you're finally wealthy, you'll realize that it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place, but that's for another day. And really, I think what he's saying here, obviously, is find a higher purpose. And I have this post that you put on X a few months ago of a man chasing money when he's younger. He gets a little older, he's still chasing it, and then he's at the end of his life and he's got all of the money. And yeah, then
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. I think like, we're all driven by success and we think, that wealth will solve a lot of problems. And people who say it doesn't solve some problems are liars. It does solve some problems.
Sure.
You go
It
to bed
solves
at
your money
night.
problems.
Yeah, it solves your money
Yeah.
problem. And it solves a lot of
Which,
emotional things too. Like it's not just that you don't have to make your kid choose one sport or another. They can do both sports if they want to. And you can afford to go to camp or you can afford to go on a vacation. That is solves a lot of emotional things too. But it's not. It's Naval and every book on this subject that has even a slight philosophical bend shows that it's not the solution, right? It's not. It does not breed personal contentment, and the personal contentment is where happiness comes from, right? So that's all about your relationship with yourself and others.
yep.
So money can bring you some peace. It can help you have a lot more security and in many ways more fun, but it is not going to bring contentment for most people.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's a good place to end that segment. It's how to get rich without being lucky. And at Creative Planning, we try to help you achieve a richer way to wealth. Go to creativeplanning.com/Charlie. Get a free wealth path analysis there. We're close to 2025. Get a second look on your portfolio and your plan. At Creative Planning, we're in all 50 states, over 325 billion in assets under management and advisement, and we're here to help. So reach out today, creativeplanning.com/Charlie. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on episode 40 of Signal or Noise. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button for more content just like it. Everyone, want to wish everyone out there Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. And Peter and I will see you on the flip side in 2025 for the next episode of Signal or Noise.